Hello, everyone. How are you guys? Thank you very much. My name is Iggy Ldn. I am a filmmaker, born and raised in East London. And yeah, I tell stories which are like, I call them visual storytelling, visual poetry. It's the idea of, I don't know, the image meeting emotion, meeting movement. And yeah, that's kind of what I do. Before I kind of show you kind of like what my kind of the film that I want to like basically showcase today, I just wanted to let you know kind of like my backstory. It all started when I was in the womb. I'm joking, it's not like that. But basically, I just want to tell you a little bit of like, yeah, how I kind of started. I sort of started in a really weird way. I didn't actually want to become a filmmaker. I actually wanted to become a firefighter or an actor. Or a dancer. I basically wanted to become anything other than actually a director. I don't know, I think it kind of all started in 2015. I'm one of those people where even though I can talk for the Queen of England, I really like the idea of being quite silent in terms of my emotions. So I wrote a lot. I think I was speaking to a friend recently and I was like, I actually do love to just write to express myself and not tell anyone about what I'm writing. And I wrote this poem called Black Boys Don't Cry. And it was kind of like this homage to what I was feeling at the time. It was like this experience of basically being a black boy in London, growing up and just navigating life. And I feel like when I was in university, I didn't necessarily fit in. I wasn't like a big like popular kid, and I kind of like wrote just to kind of express my story and what I thought life was. And the tension between being a black boy living in a place that just didn't fit right for me, and like I felt that, I needed to kind of escape. So I wrote a poem called Black Boys Don't Cry. I actually didn't show it to anyone. And then one of my friends was like, you need to perform that at an event, like a talent show. I was like, no. And then they were like, yo, you should. Like, it's amazing. Like, you have something to say. And I was like, no. And then eventually I was like, I figured it out. I was like, okay, I need to do it. Almost like, yeah, I need to like fight my fears. And so I did. And I'll give you a little rendition if you want. And it goes like this. They said I'll inherit the earth one day so no one can know I was weak. Because men like us don't cry. You see, the wailing is much rather left to the woman to endure. We hold the light for the rest to see. We are the prophecy that was written in the stars. If it's not our job to be breadwinners, then we have to be feared. You see, we must be feared. Anyway, that's a little bit of it. And thank you. And yeah, so I basically showcased it to loads of people. And then there was one person at the back of the room kind of hit me up and was like, you should do a film about this. This is really important. I was like, no, I don't want to. I was like, no, this is really important. So as a New Year's resolution in 2016, I basically made a film. I got loads of people, loads of all my friends and like people that I knew, just to kind of like make it happen. And it was just like £50 in my pocket, let's just make a beautiful film. And eventually, yeah, kind of screened it in Hoxton Basement in East London. And yeah, it was beautiful. I got a great like reaction, people loved it, and I thought that was amazing. Me done. I'll just continue trying to be an actor. But then I had the urge next year. I wrote another poem called Fatherhood, and it was actually from an experience that I had in school when basically people would always assume that you didn't live with your dad. It was a weird thing where people just assume like you just live with your mum. So I like the idea of like thinking about or questioning myself as to where do fathers go if they don't live in those family homes, and and knowing fully that even if you had a father who was not with you, there's this like link. This like, this spiritual link or this like connection that you have with someone, that you're tethered to them, even though you're not like by design, even though you're not actually with them. So I did that kind of story, which is a continuation of Black Boys Don't Cry, and people like that, which was nice. And then eventually in 2018, I directed my first ever commission piece called Velvet. And it's of a kid who's this happy-go-lucky, almost Billy Elliot character, and he's just living life and dancing and moving in the space, and then suddenly an altercation happens, and he loses his life. But we don't get to see the perpetrator, we don't see the actual, the weapon, because I think that so many times those things are actually like weaponized and utilized in media to basically and rub out who the character or the identity of the person is. So it's kind of interesting basically doing a film which focuses so entirely on the character and who that character is. And at the end of the film, basically there's a connection between the mother and the son, and basically she feels all the pain that he feels at the time of his death. You should go watch it if you can. That'll be really helpful, and also double click my Instagram if you want to. And then so I realized I actually could be a filmmaker, that this is an actual thing that people do, but I actually didn't know any filmmakers except for Spike Lee or like the big ones, and also they were all like American, so I didn't know if there was an actual thing. At the time, I was also just inspired by the idea of like pushing forward boundaries and challenging my stereotypes and challenging the status quo. Growing up, I didn't necessarily see films that were related to me. I think I was always like, kind of like looking at Boys in the Hood, or I'd look at, there's a TV show called Moesha, or like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Everyone knows Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And I just thought that I wanted to be able to tell the stories that were interesting in the UK, like what's happening in the UK. Like let's even go back. Let's not even talk about what's happening in the UK. Let's just talk about love, two people, like their emotion and their connections and what they feel and how they feel it. So I just kept on making films that excited me, and I felt that that's a way into the film industry. I didn't know, hadn't been on any set or any like other person's set in my life, except for only one. I've only been to one sort of set, but other than that, I've just basically become a director by force. So I continued to make work that I felt challenged the status quo and then champion interesting, talented voices. I worked with an incredible artist called Junior Williams on his first ever music video, which was my first ever music video that I directed. And then I continued to write poetry and make personal projects that I felt like resonated to me. And I collaborated with brands such as Nowness and Nike. And then eventually earlier this year, I got asked after I finished this kind of commission for the British Vogue to have a chat with Harrods. And before I just explain to you what the kind of campaign was, I hadn't really kind of focused about what fashion does and like fashion meeting my work. I hadn't really thought about that before in a long time, and I wanted to make something beautiful and profound, but at the same time, I didn't want it just to be a normal random fashion film, because they're cute and they're nice, but it's just all about the clothes, and I just don't mind that. So I wanted something which was interesting and that actually shook people. I'll play it for you now, and if you like it, let me know.
H is for the hangers that hold hem slices of heaven that we get to slide on or use to hide from or create house inside. Hoodie or halter neck depending on what feels right. Sometimes I like to wear my happiness like a headband, take my hope out of my handbag. H is for the hook and eye and the way we are tied to each other however we like. H is for those who don't ask how, have just found hand-me-downs that hold history and held on to stories woven into H lines. H is for those of us that make horizons from hurricanes. H is for the haymakers and headlights who rewrite hieroglyphics and headlines, fight hierarchies in all hours that powers the hum of the generation that has come and made home here, right here.
That's it. Thank you. Just a little bit about the idea and how it kind of came about. Harrods were like, we want you to make a film that is you. And I was like, okay, thank you. What's the brief? What's the idea? Give me more. And they were like, make a film with loads of people, and it needs to be super fashiony, and there's going to be loads of clothes, but there's only one rule. you need to shoot in Harrods. And I was like, okay, do that, let's do that. So I like the idea of basically I'm super fan of like just community and identity, as I said before. And I like the idea of making a film that just speaks on the London creative scene. Like, what does Harrods look like contemporary, like in the modern day, involving the people, involving the London creative scene at the helm of fashion, at the helm of creativity. So basically the whole idea is like championing like interesting voices that tell stories, that are musicians, that are artists coming together and having Harrods as their playground. So as you can see, there's loads of running shots, there's loads of like these cutaways. We're just looking at the new generation and like almost being positive, or looking at the future and thinking optimistically about the young generation. And I feel like that was really interesting for me because I thought Harrods is so rich in terms of their luxury sort of like brand and their style, but I still wanted to keep an element of that youthfulness that I thought like was really relevant. And how did I do that? Well, I thought, first of all, I wanted to make sure that the casting was just 10 out of 10. I wanted the people that were part of my community that I respected, that I loved, and that were doing amazing things. And so I'll just give you a breakdown of who those people are. There's a Kaya Jamal, is a poet, and they are just amazing poet and activist. What they do at the moment is they're just championing and representing new versions of just creativity, and they're just being really on it, what they do. It's amazing. Control is a musician, an artist, makes amazing kind of like soundscape, instrumentals, and like, yeah, really cool. And Priya Raghu is a singer. And yeah, I just wanted people that were diverse and represented London, because I feel like although Harrods is so London, it reminds me of like, I've only been to Harrods once, but Harrods is so London in my view, and it's like all the other side of London. And I wanted to make sure that, you know, the people that I know were represented on the other side, and there was a voice. Just show you a group of people. Sorry about the smiles. I was feeling myself. I'm not gonna lie. On set, this is me on set, and it's a bunch of, yeah. As you can see, it's quite diverse, and it was different. It was new. I don't know if you know about filmmaking, but you get a brief from the creative or the customer, the client, or the agency, and then from that brief you make a treatment, and then they come back to you with loads of amendments sometimes, and then you go back and forth, and you basically lock your treatment, and then you get awarded the actual film, and then you produce it and you shoot it. So it was really important for me to actually make a film that just was quite diverse, and I was like, that's the one thing that I was like, I need to happen, and I think they were really super supportive of that. And I don't think that's actually something that they've done before, so it was a new way of actually directing a new kind of like future for like Harrods and what they're about, which is super important for me. As I said, like I really like the idea of like being able to capture poetry and have that visual poetry within my films. So the one thing I wanted to do, instead of me kind of doing like making a poem and then getting someone to like write, to say it, I wanted to partner with Kai to be able to make something which was like really important for them, but then also very important for like the brands and what they like. And you can hear from the film that there was a whole H is for H, which Harrods really loved. And yeah, I was kind of happy with that. And as you can tell from the film and also from my previous work, if you've seen it, I like movement. I love just the floaty sort of heavenly sort of feel that you get. And I worked with a Steadicam operator, and he had that little thingy-bob machine thing, which is really good to just get around places and move and make it just look so heavenly, which is like kind of my style. And then I'll just tell you a little bit more about the day. We shot in the nighttime when the doors were closed, like basically locked, and then we basically shot until like 5 a.m. And it was a really long day, but it was great. And everyone was super happy. And I just wanted to kind of like close off by just telling you, like, although you can work with a brand and it can be super like commercial and it could feel corporate sometimes or like stuffy sometimes, like you can also work for a brand where you collaborate and you make amazing work which represents not only London, but the brand itself. And I think it's important when you're thinking about like going into spaces that we need to be more mindful of like what we're trying to tell, the stories we're trying to tell and how they impact and affect people. So instead of me trying to boast myself up, I'll just give you little pictures of just the day and how people just really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed it, as you can probably tell. And yeah, that's me. Thank you very much. Take care.